Welcome to our Autism 101, Module 3, Special Education. In our Special Education module, we will give you an overview of special education, the process, and how the IEP, or Individualized Education Plan, is constructed and implemented. You will see here that a 2010 Parents Guide to Special Education is a document that we highly recommend for parents to review. If you need a copy of this document, please go to your Parent Resource Center within your school division or contact us and we will send you a link to this document or provide you with a hard copy. It is a valuable tool and it covers the entire process from referral to eligibility, timelines, IEP formation, implementation, and procedural safeguards. There are 5 steps in the special education process: identification and referral, evaluation, determination of eligibility, development of an individualized education plan, IEP, and determination of services, as well as a re-evaluation conducted at least every 3 years. To be eligible for special education services, the child's disability must impact their education and require specialized instruction. Remember, a medical diagnosis and an educational diagnosis are not always the same. Here is a list of eligibility categories, starting with autism and ending with visual impairment. You can also have more than one. You can also meet more than one eligibility category and have it listed on your IEP. The educational definition of autism means a developmental disability significantly affecting verbal and nonverbal communication and social interaction, generally evident before age 3, that adversely affects a child's educational performance. Other characteristics often associated with autism are engagement in repetitive activities and stereotyped movements, resistance to environmental change or change in daily routines, and unusual responses to sensory experiences. Autism does not apply if a child's educational performance is adversely affected primarily because the child has an emotional disturbance. A child who manifests the characteristics of autism after age 3 could be identified as having autism if the criteria in this definition are satisfied. Again, this is the educational definition of autism, not the medical definition of autism. And this was taken from the regulations governing special education programs for children with disabilities in Virginia, available on the Department of Education's website at the link below. Some important acronyms and abbreviations to remember are 504, a section of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, ADA, Americans with Disability Act, DD, Developmental Disability, ED, Emotional Disability, FAPE, Free and Appropriate Public Education, FBA, Functional Behavioral Assessment, IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEIA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004, LRE, Least Restrictive Environment, OT, Occupational Therapy, PDD, Pervasive Developmental Disorder, PWN, Prior Written Notice, SEAC, Special Education Advisory Committee, SI, Sensory Integration, SLD, Specific Learning Disability, SPL, SL, Speech Language, SPED, Special Education, VDOE, Virginia Department of Education, VAP, Virginia Alternative Assessment Program, VGLA, Virginia Grade Level Alternative Program. What is the difference between an IEP and a 504 plan? The Individuals with Disability Education Act, also known as IDEA, is a law that makes available a free and appropriate public education, FAPE, to eligible children with disabilities throughout the nation and ensures special education and related services to those children. IDEA governs how an individualized education plan, IEP, is constructed and implemented. Currently, the Virginia Department of Education uses standards-based IEPs, which is tied directly to the state's content standards. Both the student's present level of performance and some of the annual IEP goals are aligned with and based on the state's grade level standards, which creates a program that is aimed at getting the student to a proficient level on the state standards. Section 504 of the 1973 Rehabilitation Act provides special accommodations for qualifying students with a medical or mental impairment that substantially limits a major life function. It provides equal access. The 504 plan is constructed by the school staff to give a child special considerations or accommodations with classroom climate, seating arrangement, health services, modified assignments, testing accommodations, behavioral management plans, transportation, and modification of physical education. An IEP plan will have goals and there will be data tracking. With a 504 plan, it's just the list of accommodations. And both plans are updated annually, and you can call a meeting at any time to update either an IEP or 504 plan. You do not have to wait until your plan is up for renewal. You can call an IEP or a 504 meeting at any time. Transition IEP. The transition from school to adulthood is a process for all students, regardless of their abilities or diagnosis, that begins with when a student and their parents begin planning for their post-high school life. In the state of Virginia, all students with disabilities who have an IEP are required to develop a transition plan as part of their IEP at age 14. Please feel free to look at the Autism Spectrum Disorders and Transition to Adulthood Guide, published in October 2010, available on the Virginia Department of Education's website. Some education tips and reminders. Keep good records. Document in writing any conversations you have with teachers, staff, or administrators. Again, you can call an IEP or a 504 plan meeting at any time. You can take a friend, family member, or educational advocate with you to IEP meetings or 504 meetings. Please let the IEP or 504 team know in advance. It will take them about 10 days to set up that meeting. You can also call a FAPT or Family Assessment and Planning Team meeting to discuss alternative placement for your child, or contact CSA, Children's Services Act Coordinator in your area, and the link is provided below. Requesting in advance any reports or documents that will be discussed during IEP or 504 team meetings so that you are well prepared. That concludes our special education module. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at the address listed or call our office.